Yeah, good afternoon to one and all.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, is it audible to you all?
Yes, it is audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Yeah, today we are going to discuss about the second unit, population growth. Okay, the black one we have completed environmental health, and today we are going to discuss about the population growth. So generally, the population growth is the increase in the number of people in a population or dispersed group. So as we know, the population, it means increase in the number. So any community or any diverse group, so it is increasing the population or it is increasing the number of a people in a particular diverse group. We can call it as a population. So generally, a global human population growth amounts to around 83 million annually, or at least 1.1% per year. As we know, the global population has grown from 1 billion to almost 1800 to 7.9 billion. So in the year 2020. So generally, the international nation projects, so the population to keep growing, and estimates have to be the total population. It has been 8.6 billions by the middle of the 2030. So it means in any a diverse category or diverse group, it has been increasing. So without any protections or without any guidelines, so the population has been, we are not going to be stopping, or you are not going to be proper maintenance of the increasing in the number. So as we are seeing, the world human population has been growing since end of the Black Death. It has been around the year, and a technological advancement as well as that improved agriculture, productivity and sanitation, and medical advancement that reduced mortality, increased population growth. So whenever you need to observe a thing is, so when the population is increasing, at the same time, whatever the needs which we need, so whatever the needs, whatever the primary needs which we want are mostly the food, water and land. All these are primary needs. The same way, it is not going to increase. So it is one of the important aspects to remember. You're not going to be increasing a population, isn't it? So generally, the productivity when it is going to be increased, and sanitation and medical advancement that reduced to mortality, increased population growth. In some geographies, this has been mostly slowed through the process called the demographic transition. So where many nations generally with a high standards of living have seen a significant slowing of population growth. So this is in a direct contrast with the less developed contexts. So where generally the population growth is still happening globally, the rate of population growth has mostly declined from a peak of at least 2.2% per year. It is in the year 1963. So the global human population is projected to peak during the mid 21st century and decline by 2100. So in generally, what we need to understand in the population growth. So when the population is increasing widely and very rapidly, and also we need to think of our primary needs, which we need, as well as, so whatever the things we need to survive or to better survival of our life. So these are also very essential. As we know, the China is one of the first row which is going to be in the population. So that is why. So in order to control the population growth, the China has put the one or none. There has been one a caution. So it is one or none. Means to in order to stop the population, it has been over drafting the productivity. So they are putting, say, the regulations or what we can call it as to control the population of their nation. So at the same time, so the population, it is also requires the things which we need to sustain the life. So all the aspects we have to look into the matters. As well as the population growth alongside increased consumption as a driver of environmental concerns such as biodiversity, loss and climate change due to the resources utilized in a human development. So generally, international policy focused on mitigating the impact, isn't it? So mitigating the impact of human population growth is concentrated in the sustainable development goals. So which seek to improve the understanding of living globally while reducing the impact of society on the environment. So generally, the population growth mostly concerns the sustainable development. The sustainable development goals, as we know, the sustainable development means when whichever we want, whatever the developmental activities or takes place. So these developmental activities it has been up to a sustainable. Sustainable means how much we need. At that much only we can be able to use. It means without wasting, without unwanted use, without unwanted things, whatever the we need, how much we would like to enough to sustain, that much only you need to use. Don't waste unnecessarily. That is sustainable development. So as we know, as per the modern human living style, so mostly the people are using it as luxuries. So luxury lifestyles. So our luxury lifestyles which are going to be waste many things, isn't it? So luxury life, definitely it can produce the waste in a large scale manner, isn't it? So in that way, the sustainable development is necessarily be used or necessarily taken to concern. So to improve the sustainable of living globally while reducing the impact of society on the environment. So we are the responsible to what we need to reduce the impact of society on the environment. So what is the global growth or the population growth impacts on the environment? So is there any impacts on the population growth on the environment? Yes, definitely. The population growth will impact on the environment, definitely. So as we think, so for example, I can say a simple example. In a four members of family, isn't it? So in a four members in a family, maybe they can produce the waste, maybe a two or 3 kgs of waste every day in a family that is having four members. For example, 3 kg waste, solid waste or whatever. Okay, biodegradable or degradable waste, whatever. It is up to 2 to 3 kgs waste for every day in a family of who are having four members. For example, if the family having 10 members, is it the waste is increasing or decreasing? Yes, definitely it is going to be increase. So in a 10 members family, that waste may be, isn't it? That waste may be around 10 kgs, isn't it? So 4 members family, 2 to 3 kgs waste. So 10 members family, it's going to be waste is around 10 kgs. It means the increasing in the number in a family, definitely they are going to be used much amounts than the small family, as well as they are going to be used, they are going to be produce the much waste than the small family. It means it is going to be definitely impact on the environment. So these four members are, they are going to be facing the environment. At the same time, the 10 members family are also going to be facing the environment on a broad scale. So it means the population or the increasing the number, definitely they are going to be impact on the environment in a large scale manner. So whatever the activities which are doing in a whatever the sustainability or what you can call it as, so equal proportion, so a small number of population, so they are not going to much impact on the environment. But the case is when they are going to be, the population is very high, for example, in Hyderabad, high population, high crowded region, crowded city, it's a mega city. So is it the waste is high or not? Definitely the waste is very more and more. Because it's a huge crowd region, it's a highly population. The density of people is very high. So that their waste is also very, very high. Same scenario or same sense of meaning when the population is increasing, definitely it is going to be impact or influence on the environment. Definitely it is going to be a big influence on the environment, definitely. So generally the world population has been rising continuously since the end of the Black Death around the year 1350. So population began growing rapidly in the most of the Western world during the Industrial Revolution. The most significant increase in the world's population has been since in the 1950s, mostly. So the population mostly has been takes place in the after Industrial Revolution. So the most significant increase, so the noticeable increase in the world's population has been taken in the year 1950s, mainly due to a medical advancements as well as an increases in agriculture productivity. So in the year 1950s, it has been reported a high population. The significant population growth has been noticed in the year 1950s. So it is mainly due to a medical advancement. So earlier days, as we know, so in a family, most of the parents are having more than 10 children. Yes, more than 5, 6, 10, like that. Because mostly in the 10 members, among the 10 members, maybe 3 or 4 members are live to die with the effect of some diseases. Because those days doesn't have any medical treatments or there is no medicines for the such diseases. But among the 10 members, 3 or 4 members are live to die. So that is why the parents need to thought that better to have a huge number of childs, so that at least after they die, at least again 4 members are remaining left or remaining there with us. So people have thought that. But after medical advancements as takes place, so after the technology is developed, after there are several diseases which are cured by the different diseases, then it is being takes place and also it increase the agriculture productivity. As well as in the year 1950s, the agriculture productivity is also going to increase by various methods. So production is going to be increased by using the technology. So growth rate models, as we know, the population growth rate is the rate at which the number of individuals in a population increases in a given time period, isn't it? So it has been expressed mostly as a fraction of the initial population. Specifically, the population growth rate refers to the change in population over a unit time period. So often expressed as a percentage of the number of individuals in the population at the beginning of the period. This can be written as a formula valid for a sufficiently small time intervals. As we know, the growth model models. So a positive growth rate indicates, isn't it? The positive growth rate indicates that the population is increasing, while a negative growth rate indicates that the population is decreasing. So as with the positive growth rate indicates that the population is increasing. Positive growth rate means the population is increasing. While the negative growth rate indicates the population is decreasing. So positive growth rate means the population is increasing. A negative growth rate, it means the population is decreasing. A growth rate of 0 indicates that there were the even the same number of individuals at the beginning and end of the period. So that is the growth rate of 0. Means there is no increase and there is no decrease. So that is a growth rate of 0. So positive growth increasing, population is increasing. Negative growth, population is decreasing. But a growth rate is 0. When we say the growth rate is 0, it means there were the same number of individuals at the beginning and end of the period. So a growth rate may be 0 even when there are significant changes in the birth rates and death rates and immigration rates and age distribution between the two times. So generally, a related measures is the net, isn't it? A measure is the net reproduction rate. In the absence of migration, a net reproduction which has been takes place. So here generally, while a net reproduction rate less than 1 indicates that the population of females is decreasing. So generally, in the absence of migration, a net reproduction rate of more than 1 indicates a net reproduction rate of more than 1 is going to indicate that the population of females is increasing. When we say the reproduction rate is 1, so it is increasing, while a net reproduction rate less than 1 indicates that the population of females is decreasing. So as we know, some communities generally the female ratio is decreasing. In some communities, male ratio is increasing. We are seeing after span of some times, we are going to be seeing such type of ratios in the communities individually. Generally. So most populations do not grow exponentially, rather they follow the logistic model. Once the population has been a while stabilized and the exponential curve will be level it has been. So according to the United Nations population statistics, the world population grew by 30% or 1.6 billion humans between 1992 2010. In number of people, the increase was highest in India. So it is in the year 1990s to 2010, according to United Nations. So it is highest ratio in India only. So number of people in the increasing was highest in India. It is about 30 billion, and then later on China, 196 million. Population growth rate was among highest in the United Arab Emirates. United Arab Emirates and Qatar, it is about. So generally the growth rates of the world's most populous countries in the world, it has been mostly, as we know, China is the first position in the population rate. After China, so generally the second place which has been occupied by India. Then after United States, then after Indonesia, fourth position, Brazil fifth, in sixth position Pakistan, seventh position Nigeria, eighth Bangladesh, ninth Russia, and 10th Japan. This is the top 10. These are the top 10 countries which are having the population. So first China in the top 10th one is Japan, and India is the second position. So it is about 0.6 percentage. So annual growth rate is 1990 to 2020. So it is the growth rate is 1.7 percentage of growth rate. You can see. So generally, many of the world's countries, including many in sub-Saharan Africa, the Middle East, as we know, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. So all these together countries mostly have seen a sharp rise in population since the end of the Cold War. The fear is that the high population numbers mostly are putting further strain, as we know. The further strain in the most we can see in natural resources as well as food supplies, fuel supplies, employment, housing, etc. In some of these fortunate countries, for example, the population of Chad has ultimately grown from is about to in the further strangers of resources of Vietnam, Mexico, Nigeria, Egypt, Ethiopia, and the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, are mostly the witnessing of a similar growth in population. You can see very clearly. So, generally, what we are the things of population growth which are going to be seen very clearly. Most of the population has been coming to, you can see the 21st century. So while the most molecular epidemiology, most we can see studies which are going to be quite common. In all these aspects, we are going to be seeing different aspects of things which are need. We need to see the common variations wherever we keep that most we can see. So this is a population growth in the worldwide, even in India also. So only thing is we need to understand the population growth. Mostly we can see the impacts on population growth. So we can say the population, the wide range of population growth has been quite impacts on the mostly what we can call it as mostly what we can say whatever the things which are going to be seen there, mostly the natural resources, population growth rate mostly which has been impact on the natural resources, food supplies, the fuel supplies, employment, housing, all these the primary needs which are going to impact on the environment. So which is going to take place very clearly. So the distinction between the epidemic and endemic situations, mostly whatever the things which are going to be seen, where we are, however, the estimates outside of the United Nations are put forward to alternative models based on additional downward pressures on the fertility, isn't it? Such a successful implementation of education and family planning goals in the sustainable development goals, which could result in peak in population during the most of the period rather than the latter. So it means we are going to be the estimation outside of the United Nations. So we are needed to take the so mostly we can family plannings, isn't it? And sustainable goals. So the implementation of education and awareness among the peoples. They need to be awareness. We need to be with the what you can call it as the importance and as well as the what can I say the things which are going to be quite common effects which are going to face by population, high population growth rate. So what are the things we are going to be facing the crisis within the population? These are all things which are important to focusing, which are most important to. So without awareness, the people, so most of the people without knowing such things, they are blindly having. But when we bring into notice to all the peoples, to awareness them, so what are the effects which we are going to face, isn't it? So we need to communicate and to aware the people impacts of the population growth in a rapid way. And also we need to, what are the mitigations, means how we are going to be mitigated, how we are going to be take the precautions, and as well as what are the changes, what are the marked changes which you are going to see, which you are going to see in the population growth. Okay, so this is population growth. So population growth, what aspect? So in which year to in which year, how the population has been a peak rise. So what are the countries, how they are going to facing with population growth. So how they are going to sustain, and without population, without much population, of the other countries which are going to survive a better way. And what are the things we need to take the precautions and the protection, and as we need to some goals, to concern some goals, all these things we need to take into considerations for the population growth. And moreover, the effects, means the impacts on environment. This is one of the major aspects, which is how we are going to harmful to the environment with a huge population, isn't it? So as we know very well, the population is increasing, but whenever the environmental resources or the natural resources not increase, isn't it? So that is why we need to balance in the population growth as well as the natural resources which we have. So this is about population growth. Next, coming to epidemiology. Okay, this is third unit. Epidemiology. As we know, the epidemiology is a study and analysis of the distribution. Okay, epidemiology is a, so mostly it is a study and analysis of the distribution, who, when, and where, the patterns and determinants of health and disease conditions in a defined population. So the epidemiology it is going to be study. It is going to be study and analysis of the distribution. So distribution, mostly we can say the distribution patterns. So the distribution patterns and determinants of health and disease conditions of a defined population. So epidemiology is a study. Epidemiology is a study and analysis of the public health. Analysis of the public health and disease condition. Simply we can say the epidemiology is the study and analysis of the public health and the disease conditions, is known as epidemiology. So it is a generally the cornerstones of public health. It is a cornerstone of public health and shapes policy, decisions and evidences-based practice by identifying risk factors for disease and targets for preventive health care. So it is a continuous study, isn't it? The epidemiology is a continuous study of the public health and shapes and their policy matters and decisions and evidences-based practice by identifying the risk factors, isn't it? As we know, the population of human beings, a huge population of human beings that are having several conditions. As we know, each and every person they are having some problems. So some problems we can able to see by physically, by seeing the condition of the person, we can able to understand. But some problems or some diseases we may not understand, we may not notice by seeing. So it has been after examining the sense of huge practice, that the reports, analysis, then only we can able to understand. So there are several conditions of the person people are having. There are several risk factors, isn't it? Because it's epidemiology, the study and analysis of the public health and disease conditions. So at what condition, how many people are at risk factors? What can call it as how you can see the risk factors. Some people are maybe in the dangerous zones in their condition, which are facing a distinct or quite different type of health issues that we face, isn't it? So epidemiologists help with the study, design, collection, and statistical analysis of data, amend by interpretation and dissemination of results. So epidemiology has helped developed methodology used in clinical research. So public health studies, and to a lesser extent, a basic research in the biological sciences. So the major areas of epidemiological studies include the disease causation and transmission, outbreak investigation, disease surveillance, and environmental epidemiology, forensic epidemiology, occupational epidemiology, screening, biomonitoring, and comparisons of treatment effects such as in clinical trials. So generally, so these are the major epidemiological studies. So generally, the major area mostly the statistical analysis of data, isn't it? The statistical analysis of data. So which are quite common. All these the epidemiological studies, mostly the major areas of epidemiological studies are mostly it is going to be seen the disease transmission, isn't it? So what way the disease is going to be spreading, in which way the disease is going to be spreading. So disease transmission, to make the awareness about the disease transmission. In outbreak investigations, in disease surveillance. So with this disease, the persons, how long they are going to be survived. So environmental epidemiology and forensic epidemiology, isn't it? So occupational epidemiologies and screening, biomonitoring, and a comparison of treatment effects, such as clinical trials. So epidemiologists rely on other scientific disciplines like biology to better understand the disease processes, statistics to make efficient use of the data, draw conclusions, the social sciences to better understand, approximate, and distal causes, and engineering for exposure assessment. So which are quite, there are different areas of study of epidemiology. So it's a complete health profile. The epidemiology is going to be study an analysis of the public pulse. It is going to be noticed the public pulse, or what you can call it as a public health condition. So this is very useful to the population growth, isn't it? So epidemiology literally meaning the study of what is upon the people. Epidemiology is a literally, the literal meaning is the study of what is upon the people, is derived So the term derived from a Greek word. Epi means upon or among, demos people. It has been rather studied. The word discourse suggesting that it applies only to human population. However, the term is widely used in studies of zoological population, means even veterinary epidemiology, although the term is also epidemiology is available. So it is going to be the study of what is upon the people. Mostly we can say there are several questions that so just here the what you can call it as by health of professionals. The health professionals mostly you can see the specifically the once a patient sees first that may refer them to secondary or tertiary care. So primary prevention refers to the early avoidance and identification of risk factors that may lead to a certain diseases and disabilities. Okay. So community focused efforts, including immunizations, a classroom teaching, and awareness companies are all good examples of how primary prevention techniques are utilized by communities to change certain health behaviors. So prevention programs are carefully designed and drafted can effectively prevent problems. So that children and adolescents face as the adolescents means the age of 11, what we call it as 10 to 19, 11 to 19 age, adolescents age. Face as they grow up. This finding also applies to all groups and classes of people. So the prevention programs are one of the most effective tools health professionals can use of significantly impact the individuals mostly. The individual population and the community health is very, very important. So when you are individually fit, isn't it? When you are individually fit, in your family, in your community, in your colony, in your mandal or in your district, in your state, and your nation, isn't it? So that is when you are being yourself, being individual yourself, when you are individually being healthy in condition. So it means again, maybe in your family, if you are taking individual one, then your community is one of the individual one, and your village and your district levels, then it is lead to your nation's well-being and condition, isn't it? The secondary healthcare and secondary prevention. Coming to the secondary healthcare and secondary prevention. So community health can also be improved. The community health can also be improved with improvements in individuals. So that's what I am already told that. If you are individually being healthy in condition, definitely your community or your family or your community will be well-being conditions. So it is your individuality is showing impact on your family and your community, isn't it? Community health status is determined by the environmental characteristics, the behavioral characteristics, the social cohesion in the environment of the community. So the appropriate modifications in the environment can help to prevent unhealthy behaviors and negative health outcomes. So if you have unhealthy behavior, unhealthy behaviors and negative health outcomes will come. Definitely, the negative health outcomes will come. If you are having unhealthy behaviors, so means unhealthy means nothing but bad habits, isn't it? Unhealthy means bad habits. If you are having a bad habits or unhealthy behavior, unhealthy habits, definitely your health will be in a negative condition. So negative health outcomes are outcomes definitely. So you are individually unhealthy, and it will impact on your health, on your family, on your community, isn't it? So that is why it is going to impact entire the nation, isn't it? So everyone individually are going to be rich. Ultimately, the nation will be rich, isn't it? So that is why everyone, for example, I can say in this occasion, a good example, everyone, we work hard, isn't it? We work hard. Everyone has to start. We work hard, be responsibility. And definitely, definitely everyone has to be, definitely everyone has to be rich, a good in position in the society. Definitely, your nation will be developed, your state will be developed. Ultimately, your nation will be developed. All the nations like the world will be in a good in position, isn't it? So, thing is, everyone has to be think broadly. So people are generally thinking negatively. So if I am doing this unhealthy habits, what is the loss to the nation? What is the loss to the state? What is the loss to the district? The people are thinking like that. So if it is everyone else thinking like that, so it is going to be locally meaningless, isn't it? So in that way, the secondary healthcare habits and secondary prevention generally are going to be impact on the community. The individual thoughts, if it is generally it is going to be impact on the entire profile or entire communities, whatever the things which are going to take place. So the secondary prevention refers to the improvements made in patients' lifestyle or environment after the onset of disease or disability. So this sort of prevention works to make life easier for the patient. Since it is too late to prevent them from their, what you can call it as a current disease or disabilities, an example of secondary prevention is when those with occupational low back pain are provided with strategies to stop their health status from worsening. The prospects of secondary prevention may even hold more promise than primary prevention in this case. So it means whatever the things which you are unable to understand. So generally we are going to be need to understand wherever the things which are going to take place and wherever the things which are going to be seen in all the activities, the type of studies of epidemiology, which is going to be seen very clearly. And measuring community health in communities in the epidemiologies. So community health and which has going to take place. So see, the thing is mostly whatever the resources which we are having. So the epidemiology is going to be studied. Mostly what can call it as. So the epidemiology is going to study an analysis of the public health and their disease condition, isn't it? So when the disease condition, so some of the people are facing a lot of health issues and major issues, which are mostly we can call it as risk factors, isn't it? Mostly we can call it as risk factors. So if you know the risk factor of your health condition in an earlier stage, isn't it? So that at least we can get the better treatment somewhere else where we can get the better treatment so that we can go there and take the better treatment and we can at least improve our lifetime at least, isn't it? So if you're not going to know, if you don't know about your health condition, Even though if you are in risk condition, if you don't know about your health condition, then simply without knowing you are spending, and it has been finally lead to be it is lead to death also. Up to death, you can't know what is your risk factor, what is your risk condition. So it is you are in dangerous zone. You don't know actually, because if it is, there is no epidemiological conditions. So the epidemiology, the areas of studies are very bad. All the aspect is going to be studied. It is going to be analyzed. It is going to be analyzed, and what stage? It's complete community or public health strategies which are going to take place. So this is about the epidemiology. Then coming to community health. Coming to community health. This is the last unit in the first plan. Okay, community health. So generally, a community health is a major field of study. Community health is a major field of study within the medical and clinical sciences, which focuses on the maintenance, protection, and improvement of the health status of population groups and communities. So the community health is a major field. Community health is a major field of study. Major field of study within the medical and clinical sciences, which focuses on the maintenance, protection, and improvement of the health status of population groups and communities. So community health is going to say it's a major health study. It's a major field of health study within the medical and clinical sciences. And it is going to be focuses on the maintenance, protection, and improvement of the health status. This majorly focuses on the improvement of the health status. Health statuses of population groups. Yeah, it is also it is majorly focuses on the health status of population groups, and also it is also focuses on the improvement of the health status of population groups and the communities. It is a distinct field. It is a distinct field of study that may be taught within a separate public health or environmental health. So the WHO defines community health as. So according to WHO, defines the community health as environmental, social, and economic. According to the definition, community health, according to WHO, the environmental, social, and economic resources to sustain emotional and physical well-being among people in ways that advances their aspirations and satisfy their needs in their unique environment. So according to the WHO, so when they are environmentally, socially, and economic resources to sustain emotional and physical well-being among people in many ways. That is community health. So medical interventions that occur in communities can be classified as three categories. The medical interventions that occur in communities can be classified as three categories: primary care, secondary care, and tertiary care. Primary care, secondary care, and tertiary care. So here generally each category focuses on a different level and approach. Each category focuses on different level and approach towards the community or population group. In the United States, our community health is rooted within primary health care achievements. So primary healthcare programs aim to reduce the risk factors and increase health promotions and prevention. Secondary healthcare is related to hospital care. So generally, the primary healthcare programs aim to reduce risk factors. As I told you, there are three factors or three categories: primary healthcare, secondary healthcare, and tertiary healthcare. Yes. So the first, primary healthcare, it is aimed to reduce the risk factors and increase health promotion. Reduce risk factors and increase health promotion and prevention. Secondary healthcare is related to hospital care, where acute care is administered in a hospital department setting. A tertiary healthcare refers to highly specialized care, usually involving a disease or disability management. Tertiary healthcare refers to highly specialized care, usually involving disease or disability management. So the success of community health programs relies upon the transfer of information from health professionals to the general public using one-to-one or one-to-many communications. It is a mass communication. So the success of community health programs relies upon the transfer of information. The information has to be transferred. So transfer of information from health professionals to the general public health, isn't it? The information which is good, which is bad, this information has to be transferred from the health professionals to the general public community by using one-to-one or one-to-many communications, which is called a mass communication or oral communications. The latest shift is towards health marketing. So measuring community health, how we are going to measuring the community health? So community health is going to be generally measured by geographical information systems and demographic data. So how do you measure it? How do you measure the community health? So the community health is generally measured by geographical information systems and geographical information system, GIS, geographical information systems and demographic data. Geographic information systems can be used to define sub-communities when neighborhood location data is not enough. So traditionally, community health has been measured using sampling data, which has then compared to well-known data sets like the National Health Interviews Survey or National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. So by using a sampling data, which was then compared to well-known data sets like a National Health Interview Survey, National Health Interview Survey, or National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. So with the technological development, information systems could store more data for small-scale communities, cities, and towns, as opposed to census data that only generalize information about a small population based on the overall population. So geographical information system, GIS, can give more precise information of community resources even at neighborhood levels. So the ease of use of geographic information systems advances in what you can call in multi-level statistics and a spatial analysis methods makes it easier for researchers to produce and generate data related to the built environment. The social media can also play a big role, isn't it? The social media. The social media can also play a big role in the health information analysis. The studies have found a social media being capable of influencing the people to change their unhealthy behaviors and encourage interventions capable of improving health status. The social media statistics combined with geographical information system GIS may provide a researchers with a more complete image of community standards for health and well-being. So these are the categories of community of health: the primary health care and the secondary health care and tertiary health care. These are the different levels and different areas of focuses things where we can be able to give by using the GIS and demographical surveys of the peoples who would like to know to take the community health and well-being their condition by using several methods. We need to take several aspects. So we can be able to measure. We are going to measuring the people's or community health in a broad aspect by conducting surveys, isn't it? As we know, the nutrition examination survey, a national health and what you can call it as a national health and nutrition examination survey, or we can say the national health interview survey. So by conducting these surveys, we can know the health conditions of the community so that we can measures and at what conditions and in which aspect we are going to take place to the people into the better condition or to the long life to provide provisions. So whatever the easiest way. So mostly the information has to be transferred from the professional, means the health professionals, to the common people by the mass communication, isn't it? By mass communication nowadays, most of we have also social media. We can use in many aspect, or many aspect we need to be the information has to be reached to the common people. At least they have to be changed their unhealthy behaviors, so that at least by communicating, by making the awareness in the people, at least they may change their unbehavioral the behavioral what you can call it as unhealthy behaviors can be changed, so that their health styles or health habitats going to be changed into better ways, so that they may live into long life of survival. Okay, this is about the first block, community health. So we have completed the 3 topics: epidemiology, isn't it? Community health, almost we can call it as population growth. Yes, the population growth, epidemiology, and the community health. Okay, my class is over. Thank you all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Sir.
Yeah, I'm signing off. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir.
No, what are you?